Hey there, Brian Roisentul here. I'm the host of the Fit Growth Machine podcast. And today we have an awesome episode as we are going to talk about how this supplement brand bootstrapped, and listen well, bootstrapped $10,000 and built it to 30 million in just under 3 years. That's correct. But before introducing today's guest, let me tell you that this episode is brought to you by BSR Digital. At BSR Digital, we help e-commerce brands that want to scale their business to the next level through Facebook, Instagram, and Google Ads. BSR Digital knows that most e-commerce brands want to grow their sales, but they lack a solid plan and professional team to help them succeed. That's why BSR Digital offers strategic plans, implementations, optimizations, and account audits to help more than 1,000 e-commerce brands like yours grow their business and surpass their competitors. And today, since you are a listener of the Fit Growth Machine podcast, BSR Digital is offering a free audit. That's right, an account audit free of charge to help you identify areas of opportunities to keep growing your e-commerce brand. So to get your free account audit, apply at bsrdigital.com. And you can also email us at hello@bsrdigital.com. Okay, so as I promised earlier, today we have a very special guest. His name is Ronak Shah, and he's the founder and CEO of Obvi. Hey, Ronak, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian, and very, very excited to talk about my journey. And again, it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, as I told you in the prep call, I am a fan. I've been following you for a while, and the what I love about you is that you're always sharing value. You're not asking for things. You're not there to promote yourself. You're just sharing value, and that's why I reached out and he said, "Hey, I read this and that," and say, "Hey, why don't we discuss this on the podcast for everyone to hear?" So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
that's
I
great.
appreciate that. I think it especially in an industry and a community of D2C that's so small. I think if we can all help each other, we'll actually make the entire economy grow. So hopefully that's the point here.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't you start by telling the audience more about you and your story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started out as an accounting major. I went to school for accounting. My dad's an accountant. I was supposed to be an accountant. I graduated an accountant in 2013, and I got the opportunity to work for a startup. After working at an accounting firm called Deloitte, I got the opportunity to come on as a controller for a startup called Shreds. Shreds was actually back in 2013 one of the fastest growing supplement brands in the world. It grew skinny.com and flavorgod.com. We were an incubator of multiple brands. So I was a controller, and I got the opportunity to apply a lot of my accounting knowledge in that field, right? But what I really got to extract from there was I loved the idea of startups. I didn't know anything about them because I was supposed to be an accountant, right? So I was like, wait, I love doing accounting and finance, but I love doing it for a startup instead of a corporate company like Deloitte. So I said, you know what? I kind of want to dig deeper here. So I was there for 2.5 years. I also met my two other current partners there, Ankit and Ashwin. We all worked there together. So one of us was accounting finance, another one was design and marketing focused, and the other one was paid marketing focused. So even though us three did three different things, we came together because we all had different skill sets. So we talked about the business we were working on in different ways. So from there, we love spending time with each other. We actually even became roommates with each other. And we said, you know what? Why don't we go and start our own company together? And we said, okay, but we don't have enough capital to do this yet. So why don't we see if we can take our expertise and create a marketing agency first? So that's where we started Ghost 3 Media. It was a marketing agency ran just by three of us. And basically, we would act like a mechanic shop, okay? We would go into different businesses, reach out and say, hey, could we come in and redo your website? Or hey, could we come in and help build your operations or read product design or something like that? And soon enough, they'd say, okay, can you help us with more? Can you help us with more? So over the course of 5 years, we worked on 25 different brands, and we basically helped them in digital growth, finance and operations backing, and then creative design. So we really, what we did was, we didn't, this wasn't our intention, but even though we wanted to start a brand one day, what we ended up doing was work on 25 different brands and extract what works and what doesn't work. And so basically in 2019, we said, okay, I think we've been doing this for a while. Why don't we see if we can now take the chance to build our own brand? We still didn't save up enough money. However, what we did have is tons and tons of knowledge of what works in this industry. Okay. So we said, all right, what are we going to do? What can we disrupt? What can we create? And that was the birth of Obvi. Obvi is today a case first approach to collagen. It's making health and wellness and hair, skin, nails, immunity, everything feel exciting and fun and tasty. Usually when you hear about immunity or hair, skin, nails, or wellness, you think very boring, you think pharmaceutical, you think white packaging. We wanted to disrupt the market and say, what if we made the packaging and the branding fun, tasty, and exciting? Well, people want to take it more. And that's our journey to Obvi.
Awesome. I mean, from accountant to agency founder to founder of Obvi, so that's great. So I was talking to you the other day, and I remember a conversation I had with Vance Morris. Uh, it's a former Disney executive, and we were talking about how I was really surprised in a great way about your packaging. Because you mentioned the packaging, in this conversation as well. And it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, no wonder why people like this. It's fun, you know. Yeah. So, would you say
Yeah.
that that's what makes Obvi stand out from the other collagen focused supplement brands? I mean, the fun, the taste first.
Yeah. You know what it is we obviously initially when we came out with the brand, one of the things we learned from our agency time was if your brand doesn't have multiple reasons why it differentiates from the market, you can sell, but you won't be able to scale, and you can sell, but you won't be sustainable. So two things we focused on when building Obvi was we're going to make something that stands out, and we're going to make something that actually works. So what we focused on was packaging and formulation. So yeah, we're fun packaging and we're fun colors and flavors, but if you turn the label, our formula is actually one of the strongest collagens on the market, which we don't even get to talk about more too often because it's all about flavors and fun and exciting. But what we said was, we're not going to give a person a single reason why they shouldn't buy Obvi. And that's where the name formulated to, it's going to become the obvious choice. Because we always kept saying, Obvi, this product is going to be so obvious. Why wouldn't someone buy it? And that turned into Obvi. But yes, our goal was to differentiate from the market.
That's great. One question I personally have for you, and I think that why not many people listening might have that question as well, is like we have all the like the idea or the misconception that we need to be knowledgeable about everything we want to do. So if we want to run, I don't know, a company about X, we need to know about X ourselves. And
Yeah.
in this case, you're an accountant, right? So I guess that you didn't have any previous education on how to, make supplements, how to create supplements. So how did you go about that? How it's like once you said, hey, I would like to work on this industry, how do you take it from there?
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest piece to that is you need to understand and find manufacturers that are quality. So one of the biggest pieces for us was because we stayed in this industry from 2013, our experience also got us the ability to get exposed to a lot of different manufacturers. We also found great ones, but we also found ones that really were bad, right? So one thing when we set out to build Obvi, we worked with the number one that we knew throughout our time of 6 years. And they helped with the formulation. We'll tell them, hey, we want to have the best formula on the market and the best taste. Here are the flavors we're thinking about. Here are some of the key ingredients we want. But at the end of the day, they're the ones formulating to make sure it's going to be possible.
Um, and do you, I mean, of course, initially, I figured that you have, I don't know, you had a few ideas on flavors and products to create, but then as time, goes by, you actually start, how do you probably leverage the customer feedback to
Yeah, it's a great
create a
question.
more innovative
From
brand, the flavors, all the stuff?
Yeah, one of the big things, and this was again kind of done by mistake initially. We weren't backed by a lot of capital, right? Or any capital at all. It was just a $10,000 investment that us three made total. So when your back is up against the wall from day one, everything you do technically has to work, or else you're going to be in trouble. So when we came out with certain advertising, we made sure it was going to be ads that converted, right? So we spent money on content marketing from day one. Second thing is, when it came to like, okay, we've been running this for a few months, we should come out with a new product soon. We couldn't afford to take a guess, right? Because let's say us three as founders said, you know what, the next product should be a random, vitamin, okay? And we say, let's come out with vitamin C pills. Let's say we allocated some of our capital towards launching vitamin C pills and nobody buys it, okay? Now I'm in trouble, right? Because I'm already down to little capital and I just squeezed it a little bit more and used it on something that I'm not going to be able to make revenue on. So what we had to do from day one was we put all our customers into a community, and we said, and again, our goal wasn't so that they could help us throughout the journey. Our goal was initially, we said, you know what, we're going to ask them, what do you want to see next? They like these two products we launched, right? Fruity cereal and cinnamon cereal collagen. What do they want to see next? So the first thing everyone voted for, could you do a Cocoa Puffs collagen? Could you do a cocoa collagen? Right? Everyone kept commenting and voting that. So we said, you know what? If we just listen to them and we actually launch a Cocoa Puff collagen, do you think it'll actually sell better than just doing some random flavor? So we said, let's try it. So we went to our R&D and said, hey guys, our customers want a cocoa cereal collagen. And they're like, okay, we'll get it made, blah, blah, blah. 6 to 8 weeks, we got the product, we launched it, we sold out within 48 hours. And this is where that day when this happened, over those 2 days, and we saw the sales and we saw the numbers and we saw the reaction of our community from their angle, they actually found someone that's listening to them as a customer, right? Because they asked for something and we said, here you go, here it is. On our angle, we were able to hold them reliable by saying, you asked me for something, I went and made it, now you have it, right? Can you buy it? And they did. So we created this literally connection of, you're asking, I'm going to provide. And let's just make sure that we're here and loyal to each other. Everyone bought it. And we were like, wow, this is unbelievable. And now 32 SKUs later, every product we've launched was decided by our community.
Awesome. And the good thing about it is that if you think about it, nobody guarantees anything, of course, but it makes sense that if the community decides what to launch next, they will logically consume and buy. And of course, you will sell out because it didn't take chances, right? You actually asked them what they
Right.
wanted. And it makes sense that most brands are not doing that. So
Right.
probably, I don't know why. I don't know. Probably they think it's too hard or time consuming or expensive, or if they are getting started, they don't have a community, they don't have customers. So who are they going to ask to? So yeah, but a few things that stand out from what you said, at least to me, are that first you try to found, let's say, your blue ocean. You didn't try to launch any like the next supplement brand similar to all the ones in the market then. And two, you mentioned briefly the word avatar, just in case anyone listening don't know what it is. It's the buyer personas, the avatar, basically your the definition of the customers that you will have, the type of customers that will buy from you. Not, I
Yep.
mean, not all the customers are the same. So that's key because you said, hey, here are my avatars. Here's what they want. Here's what they need. and then three, I mean, or third, you ask them what they wanted. So what could go wrong? I mean, of course, nothing's perfect, but it makes
That's
sense that it
that's it.
works.
That's it. And I think that piece where you just asked what could go wrong, if you can make the factor of what could go wrong smaller and smaller, you can actually bootstrap. It'll help you bootstrap. It'll help your cash flow. It will help your lifetime value. It'll help your retention. It can help so many things because now you're making fewer mistakes to build your business.
Yeah. So probably that's where I want to go next. Uh, to reduce what could go wrong by by telling the audience about your learnings and experience. So why don't we break it down since you started the company, let's say,
Sure.
at least the highlights, until today. What are the key things that you think that you did good or you did well that actually the audience should probably, you know, listen to your advice on that?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the biggest things that we did well was when it came down to creating this brand, we tried not to sell to everyone. We Because when you try to sell to everyone, you don't sell to anyone. So what we held on to was we're going to be this pink brand that's going to be colorful. It's going to have a lot of flavors. We're not going to do anything that tries to make someone else feel better. Or one comment that we always got: how come you don't sell anything for men? You have three male founders. How come you don't sell anything for men? And we came up with a clever response, and we said real men drink pink because all of our products are fully unisex. Okay. Instead, our response could have been, oh yeah, let me go and create our collagens with the blue cap, right? And now I'll sell to men too. And so, another thing we'd always get is, how come you don't make products that are going to have help with fitness, okay, or pre-workouts, or this or that? Even though that's our background and expertise, one thing we said is our demographic isn't into fitness. They're just people who are like more like housewives or more at home and working out at home. And honestly, during COVID, more people were at home than they were in the gym anyway. So I'm glad we didn't listen, right? So we're basically pioneering this brand for who we think it's for and no one else. And in that journey, if we lose some sales because we look too pink, or we look too childish, or we don't look like we're for men, so what? You kind of have to become okay with that. I think that part helped us stay focused.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. And it's like this not this little trap, but this dilemma of one, listening to your customers, and two, trying to stay away from the shiny objects and giving like everything that your potential customers want from you if you do it. And probably part of trying to differentiate, but you tell me, from one or the other, like it's probably it all come down to the avatars, right? I mean, if you're serving these
Yes.
avatars and not these ones, probably you should listen these avatars and not to these others, right?
So I think what it is for us. That the biggest piece here is our avatar was partly you know derived through many different ways, right? Like we have customers from California, Oklahoma, Florida, Texas, everywhere in the US, and then even globally in 76 countries. But what we did was we used our main benefit from our products to show all the avatars that there's one thing that everyone needs to worry about. And that is making sure that they feel good about themselves. And so everyone from different walks of life, we have people who are super skinny or too skinny. We have people who are super overweight, super obese. It didn't matter because everyone was on a journey to feel better, look good, and start taking care about their health and wellness. The one thing that is common across all of our customer base is somewhere along the way, they stopped caring for themselves. Okay, so it could have been with their weight, their hair, skin, nails, joints, immunity, whatever it may be. They stopped caring for themselves. And so what we wanted to do and say is, we're going to make caring for yourself more tasty, fun, and exciting. And that brought the avatars together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the common thread across. Yeah, I mean, among yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what's next? So then, you first were saying that again. You found your partners, which is a key. You know, a key. Let's say um, a key thing for every company to
Yeah,
happen. To find the right partners, and as you said, you complement each other really well, right?
right, right. That is the one biggest piece that I think people. I think as I also have a lot of you know, I have a lot of respect for single member founders, right? Because for us, one of the biggest advantages of doing Obvi and being bootstrapped is the fact that we're able to basically have three people who manage three completely different subsets of a business. Okay. And we're able to stay in our own lanes and still be able to build a business together and be best friends and all of that, right? What that does is I didn't have to go and hire a design firm. I didn't have to go hire a digital marketing agency. I didn't have to go and hire someone for finance and operations. So right from day one, our team up until 2021 was actually three of us plus one more person, right? And then 2021, we hired a few more, and today we're at 8 people total. Sorry, 9 people. My apologies. But point being here is us being able to have a founder set that had three distinct skill sets is probably one of the most valuable pieces to this business. And that's why I have a lot of respect for member founders, because that single member is either going to have to learn how to do it all or hire, which costs money, or they probably have to go and recruit other founders that will willing to join their team, and they may not, really get along with the vision of it. So I think that was a key element and instrumental in our growth.
Great. And then you mentioned the vision. Why do you think the vision is important for any business?
Yeah. The vision for us is what keeps us on track and takes out the distractions. As we've grown, I can't tell you how many things have come up that have been a distraction for us, but we didn't opt into it because it didn't, when we boiled down the answer, or when we sat around the table and said, do we need to do this? It boiled down to, what real purpose does this serve the vision? And if the answer was it doesn't serve the vision, even if we're thinking about it and losing sleep on it and we really want to do it, we had to say no. And that's why I think it's extremely important.
That's awesome. Then what other key elements that took part of this journey, I mean, this growth journey, could you mention?
Yeah. Some of the key elements is being able to be very different in your market, right? Kind of filling in this white space, which is flavored collagen, right? Nobody's doing flavored collagen like us. Paid marketing was very, very key, right? What people are, I think, still sometimes finding hard to believe is you have to pay to play. You can get lucky, you can get viral on TikTok, and that might get you sold out for here and there, but you can't build a business on hoping to go viral organically. It's just not going to happen. And so what you have to focus on is, and there's so many good examples. I mean, you remember even those fidget spinners, right? Where you spin it and you hold it here, right? Those products went viral and they made millions of dollars initially, but it lasted 1 year. right? So if you want a sustainable legacy business, you have to know that you're going to have to pay to play. And so when we did that from day one, right? When we launched the website, our first day, we had a budget, $50, right, on Facebook. But we paid because you sometimes just, as big as the environment is, it's also very small. And there's ways to acquire, and we need to follow that pattern. And paid marketing was pivotal for us because even till this day, we're spending anywhere between $20,000 to $25,000 a day on Facebook and TikTok, right? So no matter what size you become, we were spending $50 a day, 2019, 2022, we're spending 25,000 a day. So if anything, paid marketing is playing a bigger and bigger role every single day.
100%. 100%. What about, I mean, as your as your team gets bigger and grows, are there any key questions or key, things you keep for the interviews so that you make sure you hire someone aligned with your vision or your
Yeah,
values?
it's a great question. Um, One thing when it comes to hiring, and it's probably why we've stayed such a small team, is we actually don't check anyone's resume when they apply to be here. So when someone applies, we actually just look at their name, and we have to set up a time to talk. Um, I'm a pure believer in, first of all, if you're applying for a role that we're looking for, okay, you have some level of confidence that you can do that role. Okay. Now, the second layer is if I hire someone who is really good at that role, okay, but has very little ability to adjust and be flexible and learn other ways of doing things, being tactical and kind of being quick on their feet, they're never going to thrive in our environment because we change things as we go. Today, I could be spending 25,000 a day. Tomorrow, we could be spending 50,000 a day. It's a whole different business, right? So you can't come in thinking you know how to do your job. And so that's one layer to it. So we don't look at resume. We based on if you're applying, it means you have confidence to handle the job. Secondly, what we ask is, are you willing to put in whatever it takes? This could mean I could text you at 9 p.m. at night and ask you a question and you're going to be plugged in possibly and at least be available to talk. Or secondly, if you need to, drop what you're doing and do something because it's an emergency for the business, can you do that? Lastly, do you understand our vision? Are you going to be involved in our community? Are you going to play a part in taking the product and understanding what we're doing here? Because if all you want to do is just work, you're not going to understand why we're working. So if the answers to most of those questions are like yes, 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 and you have little to no experience on the job role, I can teach you that. I can teach you the role because part of it is you're going to have to learn it as we're adjusting and growing anyway. So I'm going to teach you what you need to know. But if what I can't teach is someone who is not willing to be part of the vision, someone who is not willing to put in whatever it takes, someone who doesn't want to go above and beyond. So for me, every person in our team goes above and beyond. Um, every single person's in the community. Every single person's families, extended families, cousins take Obvi. You know what I mean? We've created it almost as like, you're coming into this, this better be the number one thing you rep and support. And if you do that, you can learn anything. You can learn Excel, you can learn programming, development, you can learn customer service. We can teach you all those pieces, So for us, hiring is purely on passion.
That's great. I mean, there are definitely mm, as many ways as people, as businesses of hiring people, and it's great that you have a unique way. The important thing, I mean, at least from personal experience, and you can tell me if you think the same way or not, is that when you are a one-man shop, or in this case, three, your partners, you care about the business growing, and when you hire new people, they are not the owners, they are not the founders. And why should they care? how do you make them care? How do you make them involved? How do you
Yes,
make them a part of it? So probably that's one key challenge that all companies have, and we need to, attract the talent.
that's huge. Yes, yes, that's the biggest piece is attracting talent needs to come from, they need to know that they're not coming in and doing some work and then going home. They're coming in and building this. And if someone in our CX team has an idea for finance, we don't say, oh, do what you're doing. We'll say, oh, what's the idea? Let's explore it. If it's a waste of time, we'll give that feedback. If it's not, we have something to discuss. So I think that's how we treat everyone.
Great. And about growth, you hit, congratulations. It's amazing the growth you've achieved in, under 3 years. It's amazing. It's a dream come true for, I think, every entrepreneur, almost every entrepreneur, right? So, did you find it? Uh, I was surprised when you say that you are only, you said eight, nine people.
9 people, yeah, yeah. As of 2 weeks ago, 9 people.
Wow. So, did you find like, let's say, a revenue mark or a threshold, let's say, that was a game changer for you? I don't know, under the $1 million, under the $10 million, and now, do you find that you need to have a different skill set, or you need to level up some department, or you need to have leadership, or what are the key elements that your business at least needed to have at each stage of the company?
That's a great question. I think in terms of, the biggest piece was we try and look at every role as like, we're not really big on titles here. Obviously, you have to have titles because you have to introduce yourself. But we look at things as roles of what you have to cover. And what you have to cover is you're the CEO. Okay. Everyone is a CEO of their own departments. So if we're looking at the sales guy, he's the CEO of sales. If we're looking at customer service, Madison's the CEO of customer service. If we're looking at marketing, Ashley's the CEO of marketing. And when you give everyone the ownership of, hey, listen, if you do well, you'll be rewarded. But if it doesn't go well, you're going to be the one held accountable, right? And that means that this is your responsibility, right? This is not like you're here to go do a job. And so what we did in the business development pieces was we gave everyone so many ways to grow if they continue to do well and put in more, to where it almost becomes addicting, right? You're like, hey, I just want to keep doing more. I like, if I'm done with this, I want to see if I can continue to do more, and that piece helps helps big time for us because it treats everyone equally here, whether they're doing just something as simple as answering emails or someone is solving the biggest problem here at Obvi we've ever had. Everyone is a master of their own craft.
Awesome. And yeah, is it the same personal question, similar to the other one, but in a different way? Like, do you do as a company 1 million, then 30 million, or even 10 million? Do you need to do things differently? There are so many things in the back end or behind scenes for an e-commerce brand that people who don't have an e-commerce brand don't see. It's like, oh yeah, getting an e-commerce brand is way easy. It's easier than getting a brick and mortar store because you just need a website, right? And probably it's far
Right,
from that.
right, right.
So, are there some key things or factors to keep in mind as you grow, logistics or
Yeah.
anything else that you say, hey, like, it's not the same to do a few hundreds or a few 100,000 a year than to do 30 million, right? We need to level up here.
Yeah, one of the biggest things, which I think we're realizing more and more every day, of course, is as you grow, the room to slow down goes away. Okay. So when we were doing $5,000 a month, okay, in revenue, the room to slow down to $2,000 was very high. You could do it. It's not going to make a big deal. Um, it's not going to hurt your cash flow too much, or overall, you'll still be fine. When we went to $100,000 a month, the room to slow down to $50,000 a month was a little bit painful, right? Not that much painful, but it's painful. When we were doing $500,000 a month and to continue to and possibly slow down to 250 or 300,000, that could literally kill you because you're planning for inventory, all this expenditures, capex, etc., marketing. You can't do it, right? Because you're learning on low margin. So what you have to realize is, unless you're super profitable, which different story, but when you're running on, let's say, 8 to 10% profit margins, the room to mess up, the scale is so wide, right? So if you're doing let's say we're doing $1 million a month, I can go down to maybe 900,000, right? Because I have a 10%, let's say, profit margin. So my room for error is about $100,000, okay? But if I go down to $700,000, right? Being bootstrapped, that, even though $700,000 is a great month, and let's say I'm even profitable at 700,000, the problem is my business is built to do $1 million, right? And so there's inventory, marketing, capex, opex, all these expenses that are dialed in to perform at that level. So my room for ability to slow down, or hey, something's out of stock, well, we have to figure out how to sell something else. It's not like, okay, we'll slow down, we'll have a slow month. So that is one of the biggest takeaways, I think, is as you grow, it doesn't get easier. It gets harder if you mess up. It gets easier to continue to scale because now you have a lot more cyclical revenue, power of cash flow. But if you mess up, it gets 10 times harder depending on the rate of your mess up or slowdown.
Yeah, very true. Haven't thought about it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Before we wrap up, I have a few more questions, if you don't mind. It's mainly about the traffic and sales part. Briefly, if you want to touch base on that, what do you do? What channels do you leverage to get most of your orders? Is it social media? Is it search engine marketing? What do you guys do to get the orders?
So our biggest thing is paid media. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Google are our top channels. Email, SMS is more retention, but those are definitely our top channels. And our split of spend is about 60% Facebook, 20% TikTok, 10% Google, and others.
That's great. So, yeah, before we wrap up, I always like to ask my guests about books they have read and they loved. So, do you have any that you can remember right now?
Yeah, it's my favorite book. I've read it a couple times now. It's a book called Winning by Tim Grover. And there's one big takeaway in that I really liked, and I can go into it real quick.
Yeah.
Tim Grover was actually Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan's professional professional coach. So, he coached them on how to think about life and how to grow. And one of the things that the book is about is why the concept of knowing what winning means to you is going to shape your life. And the reason that is winning, when he asked a lot of people would say, oh, winning is fun, excitement, success, growth. I love winning, stuff like that. When he asked Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, when he asked Michael Jordan said, winning is dirty, it's hard, it's nasty, it's gritty, it's extremely, 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 intolerable sometimes, right? Because to win, you have to do so much. And then when he asked Kobe Bryant, Kobe said that winning is everything, right? And what those two different perspectives tell you is the path towards growth and whatever your categorical explanation of winning is not necessarily rainbows and butterflies. It's not fast cars and jets and this and that. It's actually extremely hard. It's difficult, it's painful, it's blood, shed tears. And, at the end of the day, you may win And you haven't, what Tim Grover's end of the book says is, you haven't actually won until winning was the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. And that part was very powerful for me because it makes you humble to realize if you haven't felt that yet, keep going because you have a lot more to win.
One book. I mean, it's a classic in the U.S., but something from it. I mean, I can clearly recall one of its stories, and it's the 4 hour work week. It's not about working 4 hours a week or anything like that, but about the purpose. The fisherman's story in a nutshell,
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
for the audience, is like
yeah,
if you're working half a day, you're a fisherman in Mexico, I think it was, and then some Harvard graduate comes and say, "Hey, I'm going to teach you how to be a millionaire," and blah blah blah, and then everything comes down to he's going to be spending years and years away from the fun stuff, from his family, friends, blah blah, to become a millionaire, and then only then to be able to enjoy things that he's enjoying today, working half a day. So that made me realize that it's like, hey, winning to me is providing for my family the quality of life I want for them, for the almost 3 year old twins I have here, and a house for them to grow in a healthy way. Winning is blah. So it's not always something unreachable, something that is always in the future.
yes.
We can have, I think personally, we can have multiple wins, not only one, milestones, wins, whatever you call them. So I think that's super valuable. And I will definitely read that book, and it will be in the show
Yeah,
notes,
definitely.
everyone to check it out. So, any advisors or mentors you had in your career or in your life?
Yeah, my biggest one was my dad. He's been at a company called Ernst and Young for almost 30 years, and till this date, he followed every part of my journey. I talked to him sometimes twice a day, but usually at least once a day. I usually debrief everything with him. Every part of my journey, even though he's a super corporate, structured guy, he can mold into learning what I'm doing. And I've always wanted to just make him proud. So definitely one of my biggest mentors.
That's great. Hey, Ronak, I had a lot of fun today. You've been great. So before we go, I just wanted to ask you, where can people go to learn more about you and your company?
Yeah. So Twitter is a great place. Obvi CEO is my handle. LinkedIn, just look up Ronak Shah. And then lastly, I'm on MentorPass now. So if you want to book some time to talk, just find me on MentorPass at Ronak Shah. But happy to and excited to meet people because I love teaching and giving value.
That's awesome. Thanks again for being on the show.
Of course, thank you, Brian.